Welcome to the Reconnect Self podcast, the show that helps you rediscover yourself and ultimately what brings you joy. Today, we are talking about one of the most stressful times of the year, and we're going to provide you some tips and techniques to help get you through. My name is Scott, I'm your host, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm here with my wife, Tracey, who is a counsellor of some 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's about that now.
Wow, we're old.
It makes me sound really old.
How are you?
I'm really well.
So, Christmas is upon us. Hopefully everyone who's watching appreciates the little touches I've done with the decorations on set. Why are the holidays so stressful?
I think the busyness. I think that as much as we think we're all slowing down, that's where you've got the extra Christmas parties, you've got the extra events, the extra to-do lists, and I think it just adds a lot of pressure. And then I think emotions run high. So I think all of those things combined can make it a really stressful time of the year, even for people that enjoy it.
Yeah. And I remember, like, it's different for me now. I've definitely taken my foot off the pedal. I'm sort of easing into Christmas. But I remember when I had a full-time job working for someone else and the pressure that came with getting everything done before Christmas.
Yeah.
On top of all the other stuff that's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? There's a lot to cover. The mental load is something I think that is pretty big. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, we can start there.
All right. Well, let's refresh. We have talked about the mental load in other episodes, but first, why don't we just refresh people's memories of what is a definition of the mental load?
So I would say the mental load is where it's, I guess it's a task that we need to sort of think about rather than necessarily just action. So an example of that could be thinking about the Christmas menu. Like, what are you gonna cook, or what are you gonna bring to someone's house if you've gotten that choice? It could be around your Christmas presents and who you're buying for and what are you buying them. All that thinking that you have to do that isn't really that enjoyable. It's all the things that you're like, oh gosh, where do I start with this? And it just feels like a pressure.
Because it's not physical tasks. That's why it's called the mental load.
Yeah, it's not physical tasks at that point. It's a physical task once you action it and gone to the shops or you've gone and bought the ingredients for that dish you're making. But the actual choosing and deciding is the bit that can often be quite taxing. Same with meal plans. It's the thinking of the meal plans that can be the stressful bit, not the actual actioning of it.
Yeah, which we've talked about in other episodes, where coming up with meals every single day for children is a bit of a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but I guess a little bit on steroids if you have a big family and you're hosting in particular.
Yeah.
What else? I imagine gifts is probably a big one.
Yeah, gifts is a massive one because it's not only the mental load around, what should we get each person, but also if you've got, many kids, then it's even, is that equal, if they're getting the same amount value, does that look similar for, certain things? Yep. For us, I always try and make sure my Santa gifts are similar. And that's hard when you've got two girls and a boy.
Yes.
So all of those things can just be that mental drain of what am I going to get them? What do they need? What can be something that they're all going to like that seems Santa-like? Like, it's all sorts of stuff.
And you do, I don't know if it's the same. This might sound sexist, but I'm guessing that because in our house, you really take the lead with all of that stuff and always have.
Yes.
Every single year for 15 years. And I don't want to put judgment out there, but I'm assuming a lot of the mums probably take on that role as well.
I would say a good percentage would be the females are doing that mental load.
Yep.
And I think that sometimes that can just be because we've taken something on and we don't think to ask for help, or it doesn't occur to us to, sit down and say, hey, you can help me decide what the presents are and we can write a list together.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you're doing that when you're sitting on the couch, or you're doing that when you're sitting with friends and then you're asking them what are they getting their kids. It's all those things that you're kind of doing incidentally, but it's quite taxing.
Yeah. And then the other thing I thought we might touch on is, because we are obviously going to move into tips pretty soon, but just to sort of cover off on all the different types of pressure, because later on in the show we'll talk about the pressure that comes from hosting or the pressure that comes from family, whether it's your own family or your partner's family, that maybe you don't get along with them as well, or you don't see them that often. Or maybe you do get along, but when you spend 8 hours together, that might be a bit too much.
Yeah.
But first, we also touched on, when we were prepping for this show, trying to sort of deliver the perfect Christmas.
Yeah, I think there's so many holiday movies that people have watched over the years that they have this vision of what the day should look like.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, get to that point or you can't achieve that, it can feel like you've been robbed or you've let yourself down or you've let the family down or even just the pressure to try and create it in the first place can be the thing that causes stress.
It has that same vibe as, when you're younger, New Year's Eve.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're in your 20s or you're 18, 19, 20.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And it turns out to be like the worst night of the year because...
It's busier.
Yeah, it's hard to get it. Back in the day, it was hard to get a taxi. Now I guess it would be an Uber. It was hard to get a drink. The bar was packed.
There were set menus for things.
Oh yeah, everything was more expensive.
Yeah.
Christmas, I don't know when I did this, but it was a number of years ago. I sort of let go of that whole...
It's got to be perfect.
It's got to be perfect and just started to roll with it. I think even because I'm from the UK, because it's so hot here today, like if anyone's watching video, it is, 39 degrees today? Mm-hmm. So it's hot. Coming to terms with having a hot Christmas when for the first 9 Christmases of my life was like, winter.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
And again, that's all the Christmas movies have got it in snow and cold weather and beanies and mittens. And
so it might have even been all the way back then that I sort of let go of Christmas being this winter wonderland thing that you see in the movies because living in Australia, you don't get that anyway. But other people who, are from here probably have their idealistic views. So I guess the first thing is, do you think it's healthier just to let go of that?
I think maybe it's healthier to have key moments that you want to just make sure that you've created how you want them to be, but not have the expectation that the whole day needs to be a certain way. Because there's lots of things you can't control and other people are one of those things.
Yeah. It's probably also similar to weddings in that sense.
Yeah.
Like the bridezillas and that sort of thing. So how do they let go? Like
So again, I think it's just get clear on the things that would be really important for you.
Yep.
So if they're, and we're going to talk in a minute about, rituals and traditions and things, but maybe if there's certain traditions that are really lovely for you and you want to keep them going and keep them alive, they can be the things that you really focus on, but not having the day be scheduled out and, planned from the moment you wake up until you're going to go to bed. I think that's where you're going to probably cause yourself stress if you're not running to schedule or if it's not going exactly to plan.
Because... we thought we might talk about Tommy's first Christmas and how much pressure we applied to ourselves that year.
Funnily enough, I think we chose what we ended up doing, which we'll talk about in a second, to try and take pressure off ourselves.
Did we? Oh, because we didn't want to travel.
We didn't want to drive around,
Okay. Well, so tell a story.
So when Tommy was a baby, us being brand new parents, Tommy was 3 months old by the time that Christmas came around. And we thought, well, we don't want to be driving places and taking all his stuff and disturbing him and things. Be better to keep him in routine and, have him in his own cot and things like that. So we decided, I must have been sleep deprived, really.
Yeah, it might have
was I
been young naivety.
So we decided to put our hands up to host. Now, that would be one thing. But ding, ding, round 2, we did it to both families.
Yeah, so my family was first.
Yeah, so we started our day, with a baby, where I'm getting up through the night and feeding and whatever. And then we started prepping really early. Yeah. And the oven we had at the time in our old house was so small that we ended up borrowing our friend's oven that was 2 streets away. And we were...
It was a long 2 streets like that.
You couldn't walk it, you had to drive it.
Yeah, I mean, you could walk, but it would take a while, especially when it's hot. Yeah.
But we were working between the 2 ovens, getting everything cooked and getting the house clean and making sure Tommy was okay. And then, so everyone comes and that's really lovely. And, I think the day went actually really nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
And then everyone, helped do the dishes and get it all nice and clean again. And that was the ding, ding, ding round 2.
Yeah.
That's when we were like...
That's when I think it dawned on us.
What did we do? Yeah. So, we ended up having maybe about 40 minutes between everyone leaving from the first function and then my family coming over.
Yeah.
And mentally I remember thinking, I can't do this again.
Yeah, I remember, because I quite enjoyed my family being over. It was a nice day. But then you're sort of ready for everyone to leave. And that's where traditionally you would put a movie on, maybe pour yourself
Chill
a drink,
out.
like whatever, we had a whole nother family coming for hours and hours. And I'm sure it was. I don't actually have really much of a memory of that.
I just remember that feeling. For me, it was just that feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to do this again.
Yeah. That was insane. So I guess one tip is...
don't overextend yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would be, for us, it was around, hosting. And obviously, I don't even know if people do that, where they have lots of things on the one day.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, it's crazy. We never normally do that. And I think prior to that, your dad had always sort of said, okay, I don't want you rushing around from house to house on Christmas. I think he must have realised that he wasn't getting quality time. Yeah. People, were not getting there on the time that they were saying, or maybe their energy was low. So he decided that he would rather not see us on Christmas, and then he wanted all of Boxing Day.
Yeah. That was also a tradition from his mum, my gran.
Right.
She always had Boxing Day. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
So he wanted to carry on that tradition, which was lovely.
Yeah. And
which is actually one of the things we're going to talk about is rituals and traditions.
And for that one, it's also just about, making sure you're not overloading yourself, making sure that you've not committed to too many things on the one day. And that can be really hard because when you're trying to fit in two sides of the family, and then if you've got a partner that also has kind of two sides of the family, if their parents aren't together, you've got a lot of dynamics, a lot of people.
Yeah. You're
trying to appease, you're trying to make sure they feel important, and it can leave people really feeling pulled in loads of different directions.
Yeah. Well, do you want to delve into some of these tips? Do you want to start with the traditions? I think it's on the next page, isn't it? Where did we write that one? Do you want to start? It's the second one. Do you want to start with traditions and why they're important? We'll go out of order.
Well, I think traditions are what kind of hold our memories. And so, when we've got something that we do on a really regular, in a really regular way, it stands out more in our memories compared to if we just did that one-off thing.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, if that one-off thing was super fun, we might remember that. But if it was just something that was fine, it was nice, it might not stand out in our memory. But if we've got something that we do, as a ritual, the kids or us are going to really remember that. So an example for that for us is we get our kids Christmas pajamas. They don't always have to have Christmas logos on them, but they're just new pajamas.
Yep.
And we give them to them on Christmas Eve, and we watch a Christmas movie, and usually they can have some junk food with their Christmas movie, some snacks and things. And they look forward to that every year. And that can be another thing on my to-do list is finding the pajamas. And is everyone happy with the pajamas? And because Tommy's 15 now, and so previously I've had to make sure I've got them all the way from England because they're Spurs pajamas, because he wears soccer ones.
I benefit from that as well. I usually get a pair or two. So what is it about, is it what we talked about a second ago where if you just focus on nailing a couple of traditions, they're your memories, and you don't have to worry about the rest of the day being perfection?
Yeah.
Is that the reason why we've included this?
And also, traditions also can provide a sense of safety. When we know what's happening, there's a predictability about it. So, that familiarity can feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's nice for everyone as well.
Cool. I've realised I was going to talk about this at the end of the show, but if you're listening on Spotify, or I guess YouTube as well, you can leave comments on episodes. So if anyone feels like leaving a comment on Spotify or YouTube about what their Christmas tradition is, that would be cool. I'm happy, I finally figured out. I didn't even realise Spotify had comments. We had ones from months ago from some of our first episodes that I'd never read, never logged in, never checked it. Now I know, I will check them, I'll show them to Tracey and we can respond. So if you have some cool Christmas traditions, let us know.
And people often have, and Christmas traditions could be the Christmas Eve and as well as Christmas Day and Boxing Day. It's just kind of around that festive period because I think we need to make it more than just one day when we're fitting in all those different things with different, family members and friends and things that can often extend out beyond that one day.
Yeah. A nice one that we do on Boxing Day is get the family photo taken in the exact same spot.
Oh, yeah, on the couch.
And we're all sitting in the exact same positions. Mm-hmm. And that's been nice to watch that because we've got ones when the kids were like little babies, all the way up to teenagers now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. So stuff like that I think is nice. All right, well, we'll go to the top of the list because family traditions was actually tip number 2. Mm-hmm. What was number 1?
It's communicating your expectations really clearly. So that could be with, your partner who's getting the house ready, in preparation for the day, getting really clear around what tasks need to be done, who's doing them, when are they getting done by, just making sure that you're on the same page. If we're looking at extended family, it's making sure that you're knowing, what time you're okay for them to come over. I have lots of clients where maybe they've got extended family that want to be part of the real morning celebrations where the kids are opening the presents at 7 a.m. And I've got some couples where they're like, I don't want your parents there at 7 a.m. Like, I just want to have a chill morning, and then your parents can come at 9, but I don't want them there first thing in the morning. And that could be really disappointing for the grandparents that want to see the kids' excitement and their faces. And so you would need to have that conversation just to make sure that they aren't going to come at a certain time that you're not okay with. So that's one thing you want to really make sure is knowing what time people are coming, what they're bringing. If people are saying, I'm going to bring X, Y, and Z, making sure that that's going to happen. Following up with them, hey, are you still bringing the ham? Or are you still bringing the whatever? Again, to make sure you're on the same page, because sometimes you might have mentioned something a month ago and thought, oh yeah, they know they're bringing in the pavlova. But following up and making sure everyone's on the same page with menu, with what the day could look like. We have some friends where their family love to hang around.
I was going to bring this up.
They love to stay at their house all day, and my friends, they endure that. They do not enjoy it. They don't enjoy it. I think there might be a few too many wines they might have to get through that, but they don't really feel like they can sort of say you need to be out by a certain time. So I think even sometimes it can be tricky with an exit time. It can be all very well saying, hey, come over for 11 or come over for 9 or whatever it might be. But sometimes it might be hard to say, hey, we're really hoping to have a chill afternoon by the pool. So if you can be out the door by whatever.
It's a tough conversation to have. Like that is tricky. I know our friend uses tidying up. It was almost like when I used to work at Sizzler, for anyone who remembers Sizzler restaurants. If there was people hanging around sort of at 9 or 9:30 and they've eaten, they're just chatting and the whole restaurant's empty, we would just crank up the air conditioner as cold as possible. And this is bad, but I was young and I didn't care. And then we would start putting up chairs.
Well, that's an indicator. Well, come on, wrap this up.
Get the F out of here. I got a party to go to.
I don't think that works for our friends. I think he just distracts himself with cleaning and doesn't have to then...
which is potentially another strategy, is if you're feeling overwhelmed, pull yourself out of there for...
Do a task.
Do a task and give yourself 20 minutes of quiet time, because if you don't get along... I mean, we're going into the other section where we want to talk about getting on with extended family, but... That's
expectations. So just trying to get clear with expectations. I guess in that way, not that I encourage lying, but it could be even sort of saying to that particular couple's family, we've got some friends coming over later, or we want to head out to look at such and such. So maybe the end time could be because they're going to do something else.
And if you're gutsy enough, give an end time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's relationship dependent.
Actually, do you know what? In saying that, we've had parties before where we've said, you're welcome from this time to this time, and we've given an exit time because we've gone, we don't want to be up till 12 o'clock at night.
Well, you're referring to our party that I branded Quailapalooza, which was a tradition for a number of years where it was an excuse for me to DJ. DJ Scotty Q on YouTube if you're interested. But we started that party at 2 p.m.
So that they would leave.
So they would leave by 10 at the latest.
At the latest.
Yeah. And we were pretty clear about that and pretty open about that. But we had the relationship with pretty much everyone who came to that party, where they were not going to be offended if we said that.
Yeah.
There might be a few mother-in-laws out there that if you say, get out of here by 5 p.m, they're going to be...
I think people could actually do that in a nice way. You could actually say, it's such a long day, we're just hoping for, plonking on the couch by whatever time. So you could just do it in a way that you're just being really honest.
And with the start time, I was thinking is, you sort of touched on it with gift unwrapping. Have that conversation, right, with the in-laws or your parents around, right, we're going to do like Santa gifts as soon as the kids get up or whatever. But then, if you come at 9 a.m. or whatever time you want, we'll do all the other presents, including your presents, together so that they can still get something.
Another idea for that as well could be if anyone's been sent any gifts from overseas. Sometimes people have got, extended family, in different countries or different states. And so if they've sent a gift, Do they want that to be opened, on camera, so that they can capture the expression, or on video, like FaceTime, so they can see it? Or is it okay that they can just open it amongst the rest of them? So maybe even just checking in some little things like that to just get really, really clear with expectations.
Okay. So it's all about communication.
Yeah. And just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3 you have is make chores fun. How can you make chores fun?
Well, I think just doing something around it. So maybe it could be wrapping presents with Christmas music on, or setting yourself a task where you're doing it together, and you're just trying to make it a bit more lighthearted, or you can have banter, kind of happening. For us here in Australia, it's very hot here. So if we're doing anything outdoors, adding a little bit of water, you could spray yourself while you're sweeping the outside or whatever.
Yep.
But just try and have it not be such a grind.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And we were going to touch on something that I focus on quite a bit, because I take care of the outside of the house, because we host Christmas pretty much every year, which is our choice. I think we like not travelling on Christmas Day. That's a big one.
And it's only our mums and my sister that come.
Yeah,
so
it's not a
small.
Massive sort of hosting duty kind of thing.
That just everyone that knows that we end up having to do 5 Christmases because we only have the 3 people come. So then I've got to do my brother still on the side.
Yep.
Then we've got to do your family on the side.
Yep.
So it feels like it extends out to
yeah, it does.
3 or 4 Christmases.
Yeah, but we love you all and we're happy to do it. Which is true, we do. So we were going to talk about outside, right? That's my job, and what I mean by outside is the back garden. I spend hours, days getting it ready for the festive season, making sure everything looks perfect, everything is nice. And when we used to do Quailapalooza, I would, put a ton of effort into making it beautiful, because that's where everyone was coming outside for the party. What I learned by doing that is I was happy to do it because it gave me a reason to do all of that work. But then, and I think you were probably big on this, I must have known it somewhere in my head as well, but I then got to enjoy that space for the whole summer holidays. And it was really beautiful. Like we, created a nice space out there, and then, after the craziness of Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and you get a few days before New Year's, like it would be a little bit like being in Bali, and we could just enjoy the niceness and the calmness after the craziness of the festive season.
Yeah.
So I guess the tip there is what?
I would say get it done early, because first of all, you don't want to leave that to the last minute where on top of all the other stuff that you've got, going on, then you're also outside, sorting out things that could have been done weeks before.
Yep.
So maybe it's just making a plan around, what are the things that need to get done, whether it's taking down the cobwebs or doing the windows or sweeping, whatever it might be, having a list of those things and just sort of chipping away at those things. And then by the time that, it's closer to Christmas, it doesn't take a huge amount.
Yeah, I've definitely found that easier as the kids get older.
Because they trash everything otherwise before that.
Well, also because you don't have a ton of spare time.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about this the other day when I was cleaning up the leaves outside, and I was like, because I do that every weekend now, and it really only takes me like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And I was thinking to myself, 10 years ago, this place was a mess and I would never do it. And then I was like, oh yeah, because your kids were little. Like, when your kids are little...
all your time is watching them, playing with them, doing stuff for them.
You don't have time to pop outside and do some chores. So I was appreciative of that fact, and it makes sense.
But in saying that, if you do have young kids, get them involved. Kids love it when you're outside. And so if you're outside doing chores and you can give them a little task to do... I'm not... They do.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
You met our children?
If we're outside, they will follow us out there.
They wouldn't do chores, though.
No, but if you gave them something to do, kids often want to please, and so they'll be happy to help.
Little kids, maybe.
Yeah, 3 and 4 year olds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking about 10, 11, 12-year-olds. No, they're going to roll their eyes.
Tell you to get lost.
Yeah, that one you need a reward for.
Yeah.
You do this, you'll get this.
But I guess it depends on your kids. You could get them involved in helping. I guess the one thing is, we've actually purchased a tree this year, which you can see behind Tracey's shoulder if you're watching. This is the first year we've had this tree. It requires very little decoration. The previous tree was a nightmare, and I think we did talk about this in another episode, that you never did.
It was a tradition. It was a Christmas tradition.
No, you did a good deal very early on, that you said you'd never decorate it, and I agreed, stupidly. But when the kids were old enough, I did used to get them to help decorate that other tree, and that actually did help, because it was a nightmare doing that thing by yourself.
But in my defence, I never criticised that tree, and it never looked good.
It looked family,
Fine.
like, what is the homemade kind of like it had a family vibe, not a...
But I'd walk into my friends' houses where they've got them styled like Maya.
Yeah,
and
like a Vogue, cover of Vogue tree. That was never the tree that we had, and never will.
No.
This is the closest we're ever going to come to that, which is literally just lights and some snow powder.
So again, back to expectations. Just be clear with expectations.
Yeah. Well, you were. So well done to you. All right, number 4.
Say yes to help. If anyone asks you if they can do anything, bring anything, help in any way, say yes, yes, yes. And I think sometimes people want to say yes, but they don't want to feel rude, or they don't want to feel like they're putting someone out. But if someone is actually asking, what they can do, and they want to do something, give them a task.
Yeah.
Even if it's something as easy as, can they stop and bring ice on the way? Because for you, if you're hosting, going out and getting in the car and going out and driving somewhere to get ice is a real pain. But if you're already on the way, stopping at a service station is not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think say yes to things that would lighten your load but not be a big deal for somebody else. But also, even overall, think of how much is going to impact your day if you're doing everything.
Yes.
I think when we hosted those 2 Christmases back to back, people brought stuff, but we were doing the lion's share of it. So I didn't feel like we could just prep something and then sit down. Like I felt like we were constantly checking the oven, and
we were young and naive and never did it again. We learned from our mistakes.
Yeah.
So also, we should say that ice in Australia, if you're watching this in the Northern Hemisphere, that might sound crazy. Bringing ice to someone's house in Australia is a big thing.
Yeah, because you're always going to have an esky with
always welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, not so much if you're living in the UK, or we've got listeners in Germany and some other countries. Yeah, good advice. I think that's a pretty simple one, right? There's not much more to say about that one.
Yep. Or you can ask for help as well. So not even just, people asking if they can do something. Maybe you can even say to somebody, hey, would you mind bringing, or could you this? With us when we host, because we end up with all the boxes and the wrapping and the rubbish, you always ask the mums if they can take home recycling.
Yeah. That's a big one. Because otherwise
you're taking weeks to try and get through in your bins. Yeah. So that's another one. Anything that's going to help you to make the cleanup easier, or the day a bit easier, just ask for help.
I was proud of myself when I came up with that one.
And they don't mind.
No, happy to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a choice anymore. I'm already opening that boot and putting it in before.
You're clear with the expectation. You are taking this with you. All right, number 5, I think be clear about gifts.
Okay.
So if there's, something that you really want, be really clear with your partner or your family. Do not hint. I think people, make the mistake of, I dropped all these hints during the year and I've, said this a few times. If you know your partner well and they're not paying attention, or they didn't write that down, you're going to get really disappointed if you're hoping that they're going to get you that present that you aren't sure that they've taken that information in or been clear that you're really wanting that. Yeah. So I think get really clear, otherwise you're going to get disappointed.
How open do we want to be about our relationship?
Let's be really open.
Because this has been just...
This is the bane of Scott's existence.
Oh my God. I struggle with this more than any part of being married, because... And it's not just Christmas. So let's start at Christmas. So you got Christmas. Then February is Valentine's Day.
You don't do anything for Valentine's Day.
I know, because it's too much. Wait until I got to the end of the list. You've got April is your birthday.
May, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day is May.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wedding anniversary, October, and then we're back to Christmas. So there's about 6, potentially, if I did all of them.
If.
Yeah. That's a big if. And gifts is a love language for you.
Yes.
They're important to you. And I have just never ever
Nailed it.
ever lived up to expectations.
Yeah.
Let alone like the dropping hints thing. Like that's just, I cannot do it. We've had many arguments or heated conversations around my inability to purchase a thoughtful gift.
Yes. So some of the things that you have done really well though was when you started doing homemade vouchers for me.
Yeah.
So once you gotten on to, okay, I can give you 3 playing with your hair vouchers, 3 coffee dates during the week, 3 picking up the kids from school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you didn't need make dinner ones. I'd like that for Christmas.
I've been pretty good at that lately.
I know, but I'd like them during the year.
Okay, I'm happy to do vouchers. Vouchers for me is like, so here's a hint to, I think our audience is actually mostly female, but for any of the guys out there who are like me and, or females who just are not great at buying gifts, vouchers work. If you've ever heard of Canva, which is a free online design tool, you just type in voucher template. You can print it out and write your little, or type them in on the screen. Probably the bit is just coming up with the voucher that is meaningful.
Going to land, yeah.
That's going to land with your partner.
And I actually think though that, because I think one time you did a hotel stay was one of your vouchers, but that was actually clever of you because you know that I normally book those things. And so you didn't want to risk what would be the hotel, when would I book that for, would that timing work? So even just a homemade voucher that kind of I get to, I guess, cash in, even if it's me saying you booked blah, blah, blah on this date, that can actually work for people that might normally be the organisers in the relationship.
Yeah.
We're going to do that for our son this year as well. I was looking at gold class vouchers, which are movie vouchers where they have the bigger seats and you can order food.
Yep.
And so while I was going to actually do it through the movies, through the cinema, I actually thought, well, let's do a homemade one because when he finally cashes it in, there might be a better discount on or a better deal on compared to right at Christmas when there's no specials.
Yep.
And that way we'll get a bit of a discount. But also if he ended up not cashing that in, the movies are not getting that, voucher because lots of people...
You save that money.
Yeah, well, lots of people don't redeem their vouchers. We've got one of my friends, we're trying to buy her a birthday present this year, and when we mentioned about vouchers, she rattled off about 10 vouchers she's already got that's not spent.
Jeez.
So we were like, she is not getting a voucher.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, so I think that's part of, being clear with gifts. That particular friend even said to us, don't get me a gift voucher, I never spend them.
Yeah.
So get clear with people, don't get me this, I don't use it, it's not helpful.
As a relationship expert, there is a certain, what's the right word, romantic gesture about getting a surprise for your partner.
Yes.
I always felt the pressure to get you a surprise gift and obviously could never do it. So my question is, does it take the romance out of it if you tell me, go to Myers and buy me...
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does. It does. People will tell you that. People want to be known.
Yeah.
And when their partner, their friend, their family have come up with a gift that makes them feel really known, like, oh my gosh, you know me so well that blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my gosh, just, what day is it? Wednesday. Yesterday, or was it Monday? The other day, 2 of my clients came in and bought me after dinner mints, 2 of them in one day. And obviously that lands because they know that after dinner mints are the ones that I like, but that was because I listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt so nice to them know me. Whereas
you felt seen.
I felt seen. Whereas if they had to come with a box of favourites, that's still going to be lovely because obviously they're acknowledging me and appreciating me and, wanting to do that gesture. But having them have the thing that actually lands, it takes it up a notch.
Okay. So, advice is if you feel you can pull it off and you'll then go for the surprise. If you're I keep saying wife, it could be either anyone in the relationship.
Whoever's struggling.
Whoever struggles to buy the gifts, so in that instance, because you're a good gift buyer, I'm a bad one. If I'm the bad one, do I come to you?
Yeah, so give me ideas, please tell me what you want. Or you could ask friends. I think you've done that before for me. You've asked my friends.
I've tried everything. I mean, we've been together a long time.
Now the reason why Scott's so nervous in this bit is because what's the joke that our friends always say about what you got me one Christmas?
The bins.
So Scott literally got me kitchen bins.
which are still going. They're right over there.
One's broken.
Yeah.
One's broken. The pedal's broken. You got to lift the top. Because he got them from Kmart. It wasn't even like he got me these U-Butte bins.
It's making me look bad.
Yeah. Well, we said we're going to be really honest.
Yeah.
So one year he decided, we all went to the shops together. I think we're getting the car in for tyres or something. And we went to our local shops we don't normally go to. And I went into Coles and one look at the lines and whatever. You said, let me take the kids into Kmart and you just stay here at the supermarket.
Yep.
That doesn't sound great either. But I did. I stayed in the supermarket with all those lines and the food.
I just don't do lines. I can't. It's one of the things I can't do lines. But anyway.
Yeah. We'll have to
we can delve into that
recheck expectations.
into another show.
So he takes them all to Kmart, comes back. I think you hit him in the car, I didn't know what it was. And then on Christmas Day, I don't think they were by the tree because they're so big that I would have...
It's a big box, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know what to make of the fact that you got me those as my gift.
In my defence,
it was a family
part
need.
of a gift. There were numerous gifts that we bought that day. I think that picture frame behind us was included. It wasn't just bins, but bins was the funny part that everyone laughed at. And I guess it was about 10 years ago.
And our friends would not let you live down.
No, I'm reminded of that every year. And it's become a bit of a tradition.
So my tip for everybody is, unless your partner has asked you specifically for, and look, I said I want bins as a general, we need to replace them in the house, not as a give it to Tracey for Christmas or a birthday or an anniversary present. But I would say, yeah, if you're wanting something, be really clear with your partner.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like, the amount of Christmases. Like I used to. I mean, we're really being open, and I think I've told you this before. Christmas morning after the kids are done, the kids thing was beautiful. But when I was giving you your gifts, not anxious is the wrong word, but I was like, this is going to lead to a fight. That's how I used to feel. Like, and it wasn't a pleasant, I didn't like it. So I was probably going in there with some already, because this is when I was younger and maybe not as mentally sophisticated. I don't know if it's the right word, but I was a bit of an idiot. And so I would have had some negative emotions watching you unwrap it. Then
and you wouldn't have felt confident in the gift you would have been given in the
seeing your
first place.
disappointment. Like, it wasn't a nice thing. And then we would quite often have a fight because you would not feel seen. So I just think this is a huge one.
Yeah. So one thing that did actually help last year, because this is how recent this stuff is.
I'm still not good at buying gifts. Let's just be clear about that.
So what I did last year actually, and this might be one of my other tips, but I'm going to say it now, is I bought these drums. I'd seen them online, these particular little steel tongue drums, and I'd ordered one for myself, our daughter and my mum, and they arrived, but I didn't open them. So I think they came a month before Christmas, and I just kept them in my cupboard. And then I think I overwrapped it for myself and then put it was, from everybody. But it was the excitement of me opening it amongst, everybody and me seeing it for the first time. But obviously I could have gotten that in the mail and opened it up and had a little play and then wrapped it up. That wouldn't have given me the same excitement. Or obviously nowadays we're so much instant gratification that we get things delivered and we're like, oh, it's not even Christmas, but I'm having it now. So even just delaying your gratification for something that you've been wanting, I think that can be nice, because having that shared experience of everyone, tinkering with the drums and everyone, passing them around and me hearing it for the first time actually made it really special. And I can't remember what you got me last year, but it didn't matter what you got me because I was happy with my present to me.
Yes. I think I can't remember what it was either, but I think last year was okay. This year, we'll see. I do have one present for you. It's under the tree already.
And I've already bought one for me as well to give you to wrap up. So I'm like,
and I think
I know
I think you're going to think it's okay.
Yeah. But so I think that...
but your expectations of my gift giving now, I think, are...
very low.
Low.
Yeah.
And it maybe doesn't hurt your feelings as much.
Well, again,
anymore.
I think it doesn't hurt my feelings because I've got something on that day that makes me feel excited to open into. Because otherwise, if I'm seeing everyone else happy with things that they're getting and I'm going, oh, I got the bins or the picture frame or the something that's not really landing strongly, that can be disappointing. So it's nice when I've got something where I'm like, okay, I'm buying this and I'm opening this for me. And yeah. All right, we can move on for gifts.
Felt like a therapy session there.
Yeah, we can move on. We can move on from gifts. All right, so number 6 is capture the moments. So I think that people can be so busy rushing around, with all the prep and with all the greeting of the guests and hosting and doing everything that we forget to be part of the moments.
Yeah.
So, just taking time to get a photo with your partner, get a photo with the kids, or whatever, moments you want to be able to be capturing and remembering. One thing that we came across the other day was a video that you found.
Yeah, I found it. I was trying to make storage on my phone because it was getting full, so I started going through old videos. And one of the bigger ones was this 6-minute video.
Was it only 6 minutes?
Yeah, 6 minutes, from 2018. Because obviously, even before I was a filmmaker, I always was in charge of, even when we had an old school...
I filmed that.
I'm going to get to that. We had an old school video camera, not a VHS, but like an old school one, not a phone. And I was always in charge of that, but I would always make the clips small, because like a minute, 30 seconds or a minute, because I just felt, who can be bothered watching a 6-minute video of people opening presents? Like, it's boring.
And I used to always say to you...
Yeah, you can say.
So I always would say to him, make them longer, because even though right now it seems like we don't need much more than that because they're the age we are that we're capturing. I always knew that you want more of a scene, you want more of like what naturally is going on. So this particular video that you discovered on your phone, oh my gosh, it was adorable.
It's so cute.
So it was our middle daughter's 7th birthday, so Tommy was 9.
So she's 13 now, so 2018, 6 years ago.
And then our little one she would have been 3. Yeah, she was 3.
So cute.
She was 3 and she was wearing a onesie and she had her big bouncy curls because she was just little. And we're actually at this table and Ali was opening all her presents and I was videoing, so I wasn't going to do 30 seconds. I actually did the 6 minutes. And watching the interactions between the kids and her just brought back memories, and to see how patient they were with her, because she was pretty annoying. Like, she was grabbing the presents and she was saying
they were hers.
The texters were hers. And at one point I think she was whinging, crying because she couldn't reach something, and just watching the way that the kids kind of just placated her and, and then everyone tried to get cuddles off her because...
She was so cute.
Yeah. But just watching that extended time just took us right back. So my tip for Christmas is... take a video that's longer. Like right now, it might not seem so special, but give that 5 or 6 years, and those moments and those memories are really, really precious. And you want it to be that it's long enough that people are kind of naturally just going into their normal rhythms. It's not like, hi, yes, I got this, and, showing your present to the camera. Like, that's cute and that's nice and stuff, but it's seeing those little interactions where they're just more natural.
It's life unfolding in front of the camera, and that's what made that video special. And I think is what back in the 80s and 90s made those home movies so special, is I think because now you have a phone, you'll record your 30 seconds and then you turn it off. But, even just going to get that old school camera and pull it out, you're naturally going to film longer.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think we have that as much anymore because of phones.
So make sure that you definitely take longer videos is what we want to say, and then make sure that you're getting in photos, you're being part of it, you're not just behind the camera, you're in front of it as well. We've had that before with us, because sometimes you're the one that will video the birthdays or the Christmas, and so you're not in the videos, so making sure that we swap it out and we're both in the videos, because again, that will be precious for the kids later on, seeing what we were like, and I'm sure we'll look back at how young we were and be impressed.
It's hard to think that now, but yes, I agree.
All
right, shall we move on to the next segment? They're all the tips. I guess another huge one that people probably deal with a lot is family tension. I don't even know where to start with this one. We're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we are very lucky.
We get along with all our family, but we hear stories from other people about how tough that can be and how tough a time of year that can be. So what can we tell people to sort of help them through this period?
Well, I think get clear on what you know about people. So for example, if you know that Auntie Jane's going to come over and she's quite negative and she always criticises the food and criticises something or other. Know that she's going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, don't hope that this is the one year that she's not going to do that. Know that she's going to, and that's going to protect you a little bit from the impact of that, because you'll go, that's what she always does. That's how she is. She doesn't see things positively. So even just knowing how someone's likely to behave can be a little bit of protection. If you want some support with that, it's making sure that your partner is really on the same page or understanding what you're wanting. Sometimes an example of that could be if someone's mum's going to overstep the mark, if they, again, know who that person is and know what they're likely to do, they could go, okay, if your mum's going to overstep the mark and give the kids too much sugar that day, or, override our wishes, I would like you to step in. I don't want to be the bad guy. It's your mum. You can do that. And sometimes in therapy sessions, people will tell me these things, but it might be that the partner goes, I wasn't around. I didn't even see that happen, and so they don't know how to sometimes come and intervene with that. So it might be that they can have a code word or just some sort of signal that the person might need a bit of support, or, right after that kind of, getting a bit of a debrief with your partner to say, hey, can you just stay around me for a bit? Your mum's in a bit of a mood, or your mum's, likely to go and do this and this with the kids. So just having that sort of arranged beforehand, so that you're not in the moment trying to negotiate that. You're knowing that, hey, we know this is likely to happen. Here's how we're going to deal with it.
So it's almost a little bit like our very first tip, which is communication and expectations. Like, you can expect that such and such is going to say something that's going to upset me.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to deal with it, and have that chat before Christmas Day.
Yeah, or here's how I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to walk out, or I'm going to walk into the backyard, or I'm going to start doing the dishes, or I'm going to whatever. So you're going to know why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It could be, in terms of tensions, it could be setting expectations with other people. Like, sometimes people can try and force reunions on people. When it comes to Christmas, there might be a tension, and that family member doesn't really see anybody else except for Christmas.
Yep.
And then you might have a well-meaning family member trying to, broker a peace, treaty kind of thing. And that might not always work. So even just being clear with somebody, hey, look, I don't mind being around Uncle such and such, but don't try and force me to talk to him, or don't try and, make that happen.
Yeah. Okay. Which is, again, expectations.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
Prioritising connection. So making sure that, you're looking for those moments of connecting. You're not just trying to, again, create that perfect day where the roast dinner is amazing and all the sides and the table look beautiful and things, but you spent the whole day prepping that and, being away from the actual family stuff. One person that does that a little bit is your mother-in-law. And we love her. On Boxing Day, she makes the most amazing day for us.
You're talking about my stepmom. You're my mother-in-law.
Oh, my mother-in-law, sorry. You're thinking of my mum. Sorry. Your stepmom, my mother-in-law. She's so lovely on Boxing Day. She wants to make it all nice for us, and she goes to lots of trouble, making all the dishes and things, but she can keep herself away from us a little bit in the kitchen.
Yep.
And she doesn't do what the tip is of saying yes to help. Quite often,
she says no to help.
We'll jump in the kitchen and say we'll help, or what help do you need, or whatever, and she'll say no, you're fine, you go ahead.
Yep.
And I must admit, when the kids were little, God, I appreciated that. Like, I needed that switch off, especially if we had hosted the day before, with the kids. I used to love it. But now that the kids aren't so taxing and stuff, I feel terrible that, we make sure we help her a bit more now, because, she shouldn't be away from all the connection and all the moments and things.
Yeah.
So don't be that person.
Just going back to the previous one about the safe word, how does that play out in reality? So let's say this doesn't happen, Mum, I know you watch, this doesn't happen, but let's say my mum said something that upset you, and then you said a code word. What happens after you say the code word? So
it would depend on whatever the expectation was. It could be that you're going to jump in and then say something from whatever you've just noticed, because you're like, oh, what did Mum just say just then? Tracy's just said this code word. What did Mum just say just then? You might tune into the conversation a bit more to pay attention. Or it might mean that you're going to then say, oh, Mum, come and have a look at my such and such. So you're removing Mum from the situation. You're taking her out of the room. You're distracting her in some way. Or it could just be that, you're offering me a bit more comfort.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's depending on...
So it's all about having a plan.
Yeah.
Of how to
manage a situation.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it could be, again, it could be offering support. It could be jumping in and intervening. It could be, because I hear this a lot from lots of my couples, where someone's in-laws might make a comment or might do something, but the other partner's not around. And so the person can feel a bit like that was targeted, or, you know, and so that person can feel really misunderstood, like, oh, you're overreacting to that. When they're like, no, I know exactly what your mum just said to me.
Yeah.
So they would want that support in that moment.
Yeah. I'm trying to sort of put myself in that position, because we haven't really...
We're lucky we don't have that.
Yeah, we haven't had to deal with it, but it would be so hard for people. Like, all the dynamics.
Yeah, because there can be some really big characters that come together at Christmas, and then you've got competing personalities, you've got people trying to tell a story and someone talking over someone else, you've got people having drinks and getting rowdier as the day goes on, more belligerent as the day goes on. You know, there can be all of these things that really play into the dynamics and make it really difficult for people.
But it sounds like it all just comes down to talking about it with your partner before the day. Yeah.
Or even, to be honest, making your own boundaries in your head of what you're going to do. I've got a client where she had a stepdad that drank a lot when she was younger, and it just made things really uncomfortable because of the way he would behave when he was, you know, quite drunk. So she made a deal with herself that whenever she's, you know, at family things and she sees him start drinking, she doesn't stay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He gets to a certain point and she's like, I'm out of here. Yeah. She doesn't put herself in that situation anymore. It triggers her too much to remember the childhood stuff. She also knows from history it doesn't end well. Like, as soon as he's hitting a certain point, he's going to be a bit more argumentative. He's going to make comments. So she just knows no good can come from sticking around. So she's made that plan for herself. So even just doing that for yourself can make you feel a bit more confident in your decision making. You're not kind of having to go, oh, should I leave? Oh, is this too much? You've already made that plan. When it gets to this point...
Is that sort of like protect yourself rather than please other people?
Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure you're meeting your own needs. And you can be clear with people. Like, for example, that client could easily say to her mum, hey, look, we're going to come along, but as soon as such and such starts drinking, or as soon as he gets to that certain point where he starts picking on people, we're out of there. So they know exactly what's happening. They've got the same expectation too. And you're also creating that boundary of, I don't want to be around that. Whether it's Christmas or other times.
Something else that popped into my head when you were talking is, and it sort of alludes to the first part of this conversation, is when people show you who they are, believe them. You used to say that to me all the time, and it's probably relevant here, right?
Yeah. So this is a saying I heard off Oprah. It wasn't her saying, but one of her guests said it. And basically it means that when you look at someone's behaviour, that's really predictable. So I always bang on about how by the time that we're 35, we're doing 90 to 95% in our habits. And so when you're seeing someone's habits for that long and their patterns and their, you know, routines and everything, just know that that's who they are. You know, they would have to make a really concerted effort to be different, to do different, if there was going to be change. So you are better off just expecting that is likely to happen. And if you, for some reason, have a better outcome, well, that's a bonus. You'd much rather have a bonus than have the hope of, oh, I hope this time the uncle such and such doesn't get drunk, and I hope that he doesn't, you know, be inappropriate, or whatever it is. And then what happens is you have that nasty fall back down to disappointment when that action actually, you know, does take place, compared to, I know that this is likely to happen, and how can I either protect myself, how can I support myself, you know, with that particular thing. I used to have a couple of friends that were quite unreliable, like they'd always cancel plans and like at the last minute and things. And so I started realising that, well, they're not the people you're going to ask to take you to the airport. You know, I've got to believe that they're going to cancel on me, or they're going to be late, or they're going to be, like, they're showing me enough of their patterns to know that that's quite likely. So it would be silly of me to expect that they're going to come and deliver on this really important thing like taking me to the airport. So I'm more likely to ask a friend that's more reliable or showing me more of those reliable traits than to hope against anything that person's going to be reliable in that moment when previously they're not showing that. So that would be the case even with Christmas Day. If you know that you've got a sister that always says she's going to get there at 9 and she doesn't come till 11:30, don't get her to bring breakfast items. You would be waiting around and you'd be annoyed with her. Instead, you're like, no, you're probably not going to come till 11:30. You can bring stuff for afternoon tea. You know, give her more leeway. So just, really being clear with what you know about people can help you plan for the day better, can make you, feel less stressed because you're kind of knowing what to expect.
I think it all sort of falls under the one umbrella. It's around good communication, setting expectations, not setting yourself up for failure and, you know, hoping something might be better than it actually is likely to be, and protecting yourself.
And look at what commonly happens and then try and tweak from there. So if you're going, right, last Christmas was like this, I want to make sure it's a little bit different this time. So I've said to you previously that sometimes I get annoyed that it seems to be just the females in the kitchen doing all the cleaning, and particularly when we're at your dad's house, when it's you, your brother and your dad, the three of you sit there like kings while your stepmum serves, and then Deo and I jump up and do everything else, and you guys don't even really thank us. It's almost expected that we're just going to take care of all that. Like your dad does do a bit of cooking and things, so he does do a little bit more. But what I'm meaning is, if you're knowing if that's the case and if that annoys you, so if that doesn't annoy you, you wouldn't mention it, you're fine with it. But if it was a bit like, actually, that's a bit unfair, which I've said to you before.
Yeah, I think I changed over the years.
But that's right. So that's just about mentioning it, because if you
that day used to be just about getting hammered. It was a great day. We don't do that anymore.
No, it's changed, hasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So, I probably do more in the kitchen now.
Yeah. So again, getting clear with who's doing what, on the day. So who's doing, like for us, again, it comes down to traditions. You quite commonly will give the kids pancakes for breakfast, and I'll be getting started on the vegetables and the whatever else. So we sort of have our roles already kind of carved out for us. But had we want to do anything different, that, I want to do a different kind of breakfast, or we want to go out for breakfast, we would have to negotiate that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Good job. We've got the role of connection and joy here. Do we want to talk about that?
I think it's maybe just thinking about, what Christmas does sort of mean to you, like what is important about that day for you. And it really should be, well, I shouldn't tell people they should, but if we're going to look at what it's really about, it is about connection. It's not about getting the perfect gift, even though I give you a hard time, or the perfect food, or the perfect, whatever. It's about that coming together and that sense of routine and safety. And we didn't talk about this in the traditions, but our kids always ask for potato bake. They love that potato bake. And so it wouldn't feel like Christmas to them without that potato bake. So there's certain things that kind of anchor the day, for some people, and you might not realise what that kind of is. And
embrace the imperfection. I think that would be my advice, is
the chaos of it all.
Yeah, because who said this? There's an actor called Richard E. Grant. He's a British actor, and he lost his wife a year or so ago. And I was, for some reason, following him on Twitter, and he sort of shares a bit about his grief and whatever. And because he's struggling, he talks about what his wife used to say. She had a saying that any 24-hour period is not going to be 24 hours of pure happiness. So what you want to do is find, the phrase she used is pocketfuls of happiness. Which is essentially just little moments. And Christmas would be the same. The whole day is unlikely to be perfection.
And amazing.
But there'll be little moments during the day that you can grab onto that little moment, put it in your pocket and go, that's my little pocket full of happiness. And if you can get more than one, then good for you. That's awesome.
And you do need to do that, because the rest of the time it's clearing tables and washing dishes and scraping plates and finding containers for all the leftovers. Like, it's palaver.
I could tell a funny story about leftovers. I'm not...
Go on.
Is it going to offend them?
I don't know.
Your mum and sister, because we would have a lot of food, and so we would have a lot of leftovers, and they would be grabbing containers. What's your memory of it?
My memory of that particular one was the kitchen was a mess. And everyone was sitting on the couch. And I mean, there's only 5 adults that are going to do anything in that kitchen. The kids are not going to do that. But there was 5 of us sitting there. And you and I were like, that kitchen's a mess. And the nanas and my sister didn't move. And we were like, oh my God, they're going to leave us with this massive big mess in this kitchen, because they just did not look like they were likely to do anything. And then you said something about, do you guys want any leftovers, because we had a lot of leftovers. And then they all jumped up and they got the containers and got the whatever, and then they cleaned. But I think it was the lure of the leftovers that got it moving.
I don't remember, Mum. I don't think you were heavily involved in that one. I think it was Leah and Sally.
I don't know that they listen anyway, so it's fine.
I don't think they do. Cool. All right.
But so if you need to motivate people to help you clean by giving them leftovers, whatever you need to do.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and also don't be afraid to take people's leftovers, because otherwise they're eating Christmas ham for the next however long. Like if you can take some leftovers from someone's house or give away your leftovers to make sure everyone sort of shares it, that can be nice as well.
I should say I do like giving them leftovers.
You're wanting to.
Yes, it was just funny.
It was funny that they moved because of that, but it was more funny that we were going,
yeah.
Can I help clean up?
All right. Yeah. Good episode. I feel like that's a lot of tips to recap, so do you want to recap them or should we just...
Well, really the recap was around just get really clear with the expectations, communicate well, think about the day, try and plan ahead, try and do things ahead of time with chores and getting things organised. Even, to be honest, if you can make dishes, early, if you can make some sort of dessert that's not needing to be done on the day, anything to just take the pressure off that day so that you can enjoy more moments. And
do things to make your life easier.
Yeah. Sometimes also... this would come in the planning and before you've just figured out who's hosting, is even going to a more neutral location, like going somewhere where you're by the river, or you're somewhere where you can decide your times of when you're leaving and when you're coming. That would be a good tip for our friends that can't get rid of the family. Yeah. Going and being somewhere else where you get to decide and no one's being like, oh, I'm not leaving yet. You're like, okay, you can stay, that's fine, but I'm leaving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way the mess is not also coming home with you.
Yeah. Good advice. I think you gave lots of good advice today.
Great.
Well done.
Well, for anyone else, that's struggling with Christmas as well, it's also about taking time for yourself. It's making sure that, your needs are being met. If you need some quiet time, because it can be a really challenging time for people that have lost family members. Maybe even having little traditions of incorporating that loss, into the day. So it could be having a little ritual, just a way of honouring that person that might be missing this time of the year.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, good job.
Good job for you.
Okay, quick little few things I wanted to say. Obviously, I mentioned I'm uploading these videos onto Spotify now, so you can watch on Spotify if you like. And as I said earlier, leave a comment. That would be lovely. Somebody emailed us last week and said, I want to give your retreat to my husband as a Christmas gift. And we thought, oh, that's a cool idea. We'd never thought about that. And I know this is a sales plug, but it is a good Christmas gift. Yeah. I mean, it's an expensive Christmas gift, but we will do Christmas vouchers for the retreat. The next one in 2025 is May. We like to do them over the colder months of the year because going out to Chittering in the summer is just brutal.
Yeah, and it's beautiful in the winter when it's all lush and green. And
So the first one is not until May, but we will give you a gift voucher. So if you think that's a cool idea, then get in touch via the website. I keep forgetting to mention this, so I've finally written it down. I'm going to mention it. So we have talked about breathwork a lot on other shows, and we've talked about Othership, which is this app. I did get in touch with them and said, we like their product, and they said, cool, you can have a code or a link for a 30-day free trial. So I'll link that in the show notes below. But the other thing they said is you can have 2 lots of 6-month free memberships. So we thought, well, why don't we just give those away to anyone who follows Tracey on Instagram? So I was going to make it Instagram and TikTok and whatever. I think most people just use Instagram. So we will choose 2 of Tracey's followers on Instagram, and you will get a 6-month Othership membership for free. So if you don't follow Tracey on Instagram, it is at traceyquayle.therapy. It's also the same on TikTok and Facebook. And so we will do that before the end of the year. We'll pick 2 people.
No, just pick one, then we'll do one next year.
Oh, okay. We will do. We obviously had a good chat about this beforehand. We'll pick.
We love Othership, and I just think we should do one for next year as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Othership has loads and loads of different types of breathwork, different lengths breathworks, different purposes for what you're doing, seated, moving, laying, loads of different stuff. So we highly, highly recommend Othership. They do have some free stuff on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and they're not paying us.
No.
So hopefully they will at some point. That'd be nice.
I'm happy to promote them. I think they're doing good work.
The app is very good.
Amazing things.
And I think that is it. If you want to, we've got a mailing list. We send a newsletter every fortnight. If you want to hop onto the mailing list, just visit the website, which is traceyquayle.com. And until next time, we hope you get through your Christmas.
We hope you have a lovely Christmas, a safe Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to have one more episode before the end of the year, and then we're going to take January off, and we're going to call that the end of season 1, and then we'll come back in February. So keep a lookout. We've got one final episode, which is going to be about
The new year.
the new year and, you know, setting yourself up for success.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. Good job, babe.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.